Hi, and welcome to Lessons from the Purple Chair. One intellectual's passionate musings from the comfort of a royal-colored wingback. I'm your host, Timothy Big Pretty Crowe. Okay, folks, you may know me from my other channel, Big Pretty Man, the channel for the extra-large man who wants to live his life large and in charge, where I talk about the extra-large fashion and lifestyle for extra-large men. And in that channel, which is mostly sartorial, talking about different ways to dress and different tricks to dress and etiquette and manners and how to be a gentleman, sometimes some of my other interests have popped up. And I've got a lot of requests for people saying, hey, Big Pretty, I'd love to hear you talk about this particular subject. I'd love to hear you talk about that particular subject. And so, on at least two occasions I've done that. I actually did a video on my theory on Lizzie Borden, as well as I did one on Jack the Ripper, which was extremely long, but was very popular. And I get more and more requests, do more of these. I'm like, I want to keep Big Pretty Man about big pretty men and not about these other subjects, but I did find it a little bit confining. So I figured I would start up this channel, where I would just sit in my purple wingback, which really needs to be cleaned, but hey, I can't clean it. That's part of its charm. And just talk about a lot of the other interests and hobbies that I have studied and researched and explored over the last over 40 years. Now, first a little bit about me. I am a professor of comparative religious studies. I do have degrees from the University of Pennsylvania in comparative religious studies, and we will be going over quite a few of those in the next upcoming videos. But also beyond that, I have had a very bunch of interest since I was a little kid, and I did copious reading in all of these areas, especially in areas like the supernatural, cryptozoology, anthropology, like I said, comparative religious studies, true crime, world mysteries, and history. I've accumulated this huge amount of information that's basically kind of useless except it stuff's in my head. So I figured that with this channel, I can sit and espouse and share some of my thoughts and explain some of the aspects of these topics that you may not know, or at least give my 2 cents for your consideration. And that's what Lessons from the Purple Chair is going to be about. Here I want to talk about whatever the hell I feel like talking about. And we have a lot of topics coming up. I'm going to be talking about Bigfoot. I'm going to be talking about the Loch Ness Monster. I want to talk about UFOs. I'm going to talk about who was the man in the iron mask. I'm going to talk about the several serial killers. I'm going to talk about Ted Bundy. I'm going to talk about Andre Chikatilo. I'm going to talk about the case of the Yorkshire Ripper. I'm going to talk about as far as religion. I'm going to explain Islam and some of the history of Islam, and as well as talk about the Buddha. I'm going to talk about the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm going to talk about the Hare Krishnas. That will be interesting. And my study with the Hare Krishnas. I'm going to talk about the St. Valentine's Day's Massacre. I'm going to talk about the Amityville Horror. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. Oh, and I'm also going to make videos on Ed Gein, who was the source for the characters of Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, in Psycho, and in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm going to talk about the Mothman of West Virginia. I'm going to talk about the Jersey Devil in New Jersey. I'm going to talk about Henry VIII and his wife Anne Boleyn and her execution. We're going to talk about Vlad the Impaler. We're going to talk about. I'm going to do videos on ancient Egypt and the mysteries of ancient Egypt, which I've also done an extensive study. We're basically going to talk about a lot of topics that are swimming around inside of my big head, and I'm going to spew out here from this big purple chair, where I sit and muse these things. So do me a favor, before we go any further, please go ahead and hit this little purple chair and join me on this journey through my big fat head in my big fat wingback. And until I see you next time and this adventure begins, find you a good chair, find you a good book, and find your passion. Later.